Everyone thinks Yellowstone's most famous hot spring looks the same today as it did 100 years ago. They're wrong. In the early 1900s, Morning Glory Pool was a sight that stopped visitors in their tracks. The water held a blue so pure, so impossibly vivid, that photographers struggled to capture it without their film appearing doctored. People arrived on horseback and stagecoach from miles away, drawn by the promise of witnessing something that seemed almost unreal. They had no idea that the pool they were admiring was already beginning a transformation that would take decades to unfold. The pool itself sits in the upper Geyser Basin, nestled among boardwalks and trails that crisscross this geothermal wonderland. It's a cone spring, meaning the mineral-rich water rises from deep underground and overflows at the surface, creating that luminous blue-green hue that became iconic. The color comes from the water's depth and temperature, around 168 degrees Fahrenheit, and the way light scatters through the silica-laden liquid. For decades, this was simply how Morning Glory Pool existed, unchanging, eternal, perfect. But around the middle of the 20th century, something subtle began to shift. Visitors started leaving coins in the pool, pennies and quarters tossed as wishes and good luck charms. It seemed harmless enough. A few coins here and there, nothing that could possibly harm something so vast and powerful. The people throwing those coins had no way of knowing they were introducing something that would gradually, almost imperceptibly, begin to cool the water and alter the ecosystem within. By the 1970s, park rangers began to notice the change. The brilliant blue was still there, but something else had appeared at the edges, yellows and greens and browns that hadn't existed before. The pool was developing rings of color, like a slow-motion bruise spreading outward from the center. What was happening was a shift in water temperature caused by the accumulation of those coins blocking the natural circulation. Cooler water meant different microorganisms could thrive. Different microorganisms meant different pigments. The pool was aging before anyone's eyes. The Park Service faced a quiet dilemma. Do you intervene in nature? Do you remove the coins and restore the pool to its former state? Or do you accept that Morning Glory Pool, like all living things, was undergoing a metamorphosis? They chose intervention. In the late 1970s, rangers began carefully removing coins from the pool, a painstaking process that would continue for years. But even as they worked, they realized something important. The change might already be irreversible. What the rangers didn't fully understand at first was that the coins were only part of the story. Visitors had also been adding soap, debris, and other materials over the years, all of it subtly changing the chemistry of the pool. But there was something else too, something deeper and more fundamental. The pool's temperature had been dropping, not just from the coins, but from shifts in the geothermal plumbing beneath Yellowstone itself. The Earth was slowly rerouting its heat, and Morning Glory Pool was one of the casualties. The pool's colors deepened and shifted over the decades that followed. Where once there was only blue, now there were rings of orange and yellow and brown. These colors represent thermophilic bacteria and algae microorganisms that thrive at different temperatures. The cooler the water, the further outward these colored rings extended. By the 1990s, Morning Glory Pool looked fundamentally different from its famous historical photographs. It had become a visual record of time itself. Park officials made the decision to close off direct access to Morning Glory Pool. Visitors can still see it from a distance, from designated viewing areas along the boardwalk. They can still photograph it, still marvel at it, but they cannot touch it, cannot add to it, cannot participate in its alteration. It's a boundary drawn between human curiosity and natural preservation. The pool continues to change, but now it changes on its own terms, without our interference. What makes Morning Glory Pool so remarkable isn't just what it looks like, but what it represents. It's a living testament to the idea that nothing in nature is truly static. We often think of places like Yellowstone as eternal, unchanging monuments to natural beauty. But they're not. They're dynamic, responsive systems that shift and evolve, sometimes in response to our presence, sometimes in response to forces far deeper than we can control. Today, Morning Glory Pool is still beautiful, just in a different way than it was a century ago. The blues are still there, but they're deeper, more complex. The oranges and yellows add a warmth that wasn't present before. It's like watching a photograph fade and transform into something new. The pool hasn't lost its magic. It simply expressed it differently. And perhaps that's the real lesson Yellowstone has been teaching us all along. Subscribe so you can return to Yellowstone and other natural wonders each week. Places where time moves gently, where change unfolds at its own pace, and where there's always something new waiting to be noticed. Subscribe so you can return to Yellowstone and other natural wonders each week. Places where time moves gently, where change unfolds at its own pace, and where there's always something new waiting to be noticed.